Current American law, every person born on our soil automatically becomes a citizen. It doesn't matter if their parents are tourists to this country or here illegally or even spies seeking to undermine our country. Congress could change that law, obviously, but they don't actually care, so they won't. What effect does it have? Well, according to the Center for Immigration Studies, last year, about 372,000 anchor babies were born in the United States. Their parents had no legal right to be here. Those children allow their parents, though, to qualify for a whole suite of welfare benefits, and of course their parents will never be forced to leave the country. That's just one of the many ways that America's open borders have turned into a disaster for this country. Laura Logan is a Fox investigative journalist. She's the host of the Fox Nation program, Laura Logan Has No Agenda. In the first episode, which is coming out tonight, she journeyed to the Mexican border. There she was harassed by Mexican police. Watch this.
Been asked to depart the area. About a week ago, they did lynch a couple of people that were here, just asking around about the town.
The policeman told you they lynched some people here?
Yes, and he's asked me to calmly leave the area.
For our own safety.
For the safety of the town, he said.
Laura Logan made it back to the U.S. and joins us tonight. Laura, thanks so much for coming on. So what was your assessment? I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about Mexico. You were just there. Does it feel like there's a war in progress? Does the country feel stable, unstable, dangerous, safe? What did you think?
You know, Tiger, I think the simplest way to explain it is in the words of a DEA agent, what he said to me. If you take the illicit economy, if you take the illicit money and the drug money out of the Mexican economy, this country's economy would collapse immediately. Yes. So there is no ability to separate those things anymore in Mexico. And, you know, the U.S. State Department Mexico is the only country in the world which they give a state-by-state rating, safety rating. Every other country just gets a country rating because, you know, they want to argue that certain parts of Mexico are safe and other parts aren't. But what I have said to many U.S. officials who've used that line on me is what I learned from Mexican investigators and U.S. law enforcement, that more than 90% of crimes in Mexico are never investigated. And for murder, that's 98% of murders.
Are never
98%
investigated?
of murders. Never investigated, never mind brought to trial or convicts. You know, there's no justice for most people in Mexico, and that's for the Mexican people.
So, I mean, first of all, it's a great story on its own terms. Mexico is a big, important country, and it seems to be kind of falling apart. That's not really covered, except by you and a few others. But second, it has huge implications for us as a border country. I mean, if there's sounds like it's a flat-out dangerous place.
It is an extremely dangerous place. And one of the things, as a journalist, you know, I really wanted to understand why this extreme level of violence? Why are so many women murdered? Why are they murdered in such a brutal way? And what I really came to understand, because I pretty much spent most of the past year working on, you know, on the border and on this issue, and I learned how it's about control. It's about the most extreme form of control. So, you know, they will film themselves doing the most terrible, they kill people in the most terrible ways. They figured out how to take the bottom, you know, of the feet off, then the legs, then disembowel them, then take the arms. And I asked, you know, it's just a head and a torso that's left. And they film it and they send it to your family or to other people that they're threatening. You don't pay, you know, your tax or your extortion money. This is what will happen to you. And I asked the Mexican investigator, how long can you stay alive like that when you're just a torso and a head? And he said to me, the longest I've seen is a week.
So we're just dealing with a very different culture. I mean, I'm sure that just doesn't happen in Cincinnati. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. And for all of our problems, like it's a very different place.
Well, it's different in some respects, but I tell you what to me, the most significant thing that I learned working there was that the cartels, the Mexican cartels, are no longer the drug organizations that most Americans think they still are. You know, they started moving marijuana across the border in the 70s. It was mostly grown in Mexico. Those are not the same organizations that you're dealing with today. The Sinaloa cartel, for example, which dominates the drug trade in America, they operate in more than 50 countries across the world. Cartel Jalisco New Generation, CJNG, they're in more than 40 countries. These cartels have diversified. They don't just do drugs. They control most of the global trade in narcotics. You don't hear about rural meth labs, you know, exploding anymore, right, in this country, because meth is produced in super labs in Mexico. Almost 100% of the meth worldwide comes from Mexico. You buy cocaine on the streets of Moscow or in Brazil, you're buying it from a Mexican cartel. And on top of that, they control the street gangs in every city in America. Because what do those gangs do? They make their money out of drugs. Where do the drugs come from? They come from the Mexicans. And U.S. law enforcement doesn't properly and accurately catalog the impact of these cartels. We know about car thefts, but they don't document the car thefts that are cars stolen to move narcotics, cars stolen to move people. The cartels now trade and they take money out of the avocado industry. They take there's industrial scale theft of oil pipelines across Mexico. They've got the human trafficking that's worth more than $150 billion a year globally. They have the narcotics. There's extortion. There's kidnapping. These are the wealthiest criminal organizations in the world. The wealthiest organizations.
It's an unbelievable story, and I don't think I've ever heard it as well summarized as you just laid it out. Lara Logan, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And our viewers who want to hear more, and I'm among them, check out Lara Logan Has No Agenda. It's on Fox Nation, and it's out now.